All right, what's happening, people? I know this has been taking a long time. I'm sorry. I'm looking rough and scruffy. Brother, been working. Anyways, I'm gonna make this super quick. I have a timer, so I don't need you to time me. I got it on YouTube. I have a timer. On the other platforms, I don't. Anyways, you're listening to Perspective Wisdom. I also have a Facebook page where I just did a live about this topic on that side, but I got to do it on YouTube. I made a promise that I'm going to start doing my YouTube videos a lot more often. I will start getting, done up for y'all a lot better. I now have a makeup artist that's in the practice, my little one, and I'm going to have a film person as I get my equipment together and things of that nature. I'm still back and forth about the whole monetization thing, man. I've been talking to some people and I'm not with it. Like I work, I make my own money type thing. And anyways, I'm not going to make this super long. So what I wanted to talk about is the same thing that I talked about on my Perspective Wisdom Facebook. And I'm going to get on my podcast probably later on tonight and shine some light on this. But so before I get started, words are spells. All right, keep that in mind. I've been saying this for the last 10 years, and it's kind of starting to catch on with a lot of people. I'm not going to mention no names because I'm not a clout chasing person. That's what you new folks say. I don't clout chase. So I try not to put people's names in certain things, but I've heard it just now starting to hit a lot of people their words are spells, right? And what do I mean by words are spells? Well, how do you get a word? You got to spell it. Okay, you put sentences together, that makes it a whole combined spell over top of you. You get sentenced to go to jail. All right, so words are spells. That's number one. What I want to talk about is 10,000 hours of practice. All right, so 10,000 hours of practice is what you need to be a professional at anything it is that you do. Now, why am I making that the topic? Is because you have to understand the why before you can dive into anything. And with recent events, with Kobe and that whole situation and the others that passed away, and the recent slew of women that see fit to bash him, only him, in that negative sense. That although there was other people that died, they don't care about those other people, and they somehow attach this thing to generational wealth and black people and a whole bunch of other things. Well, and when I say this is not a select few people, this was a healthy amount, somewhere in the more than 10,000 women feel this way through all the social media platforms. Because what I am is a studying person. I watch, I listen, and most of the time I don't say anything, which is why it makes it so hard for me to do this YouTube Perspective Wisdom and my Facebook and all of that stuff. Because sometimes I just kind of sit back and I listen to people. Because if you listen to people, they'll tell you exactly who they are, what they think, what they don't like, what they do like, and how they feel about you without knowing it. All right. So you got to listen to what they say, but more importantly, you got to listen to what they don't say. So anyways, with that being said, 10,000 hours of practice makes you a professional at anything. Most of the people who are speaking in direct opposition to his legacy, not speaking towards the other families that were affected by this, using this as an opportunity to bridge it to other things concerning financial lack in the black community, to talk about, pretty much there. On one hand, there's excuses, and the other hand, there's reasons, right? I'm not going to talk in all these huge, large terms and all of that stuff, because the best way for you to learn is through imagery and conversation. And what you think is random, incoherent conversation is not. It's actually more information in the conversation than it is when you sit down and read a book on something, when you study something, diligently. When you're studying something, know that you're only studying one aspect of that total issue, problem, scenario, or topic, or whatever you want to say, whatever the topic is or the subject it is that you're studying. So if you're studying law, you're only studying it from the perspective of whatever it is that you're reading, i.e. the book, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're studying psychology and you're reading the DSM, like Dr. Umar likes to use a whole bunch of times, you're only studying it from that one perspective, right? and you're not getting the full picture as to why certain things happen. So now, with that being said, again, 10,000 hours of practice makes you a professional in that thing. So the opposition and the connectivity from poverty stricken people onto this other side of life where things are seemingly going good, and there's no lack of money, there's no lack of resources, nobody's seemingly struggling, that type of thing. So that gap has been bridged from wealthy to poverty through social media. Not through real life. Not through real life. Well, social media is real life, but not through the avenue in which you think. Um, I don't like to say names because there will always be a person with that name that I use to joke about. So let's say nameless person A in the poverty stricken situation, be it a male or a female. We'll talk about nameless person A in the wealthy realm and say this is why they are the way they are, blah, blah, blah. It's only that person's perspective. It's only nameless person A's perspective. But they can't see anything from any other way because they've had 10,000 hours of practice in that state that they're in. And that, not state as in North Dakota, that state as in their mental state, their mindset. They have been practicing wrong and toxic mindsets for 10,000 hours to become a professional. And then the longer they stay in that, the more they are set in their ways. That's where the cliche saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Old people are set in their ways. Well, yeah, because they are professionals in that way. And if you don't take the time to sidestep what it is that you're born into, raised into, and pretty much reared, or the new word is indoctrinated into, because they like to use that word when it comes to schools. Oh, we're indoctrinated in the schools. Well, what do you think you're doing with your children when they're inside your house? When they're in your household? What do you think you're doing with your children when you send them to a music school or a performing arts school, or you're training them in whatever it is, whatever business that you own? You don't think that that's indoctrination? Okay, so moving on. 10,000 hours of practice. I'm saying this so it can get deeply embedded in your head. So that way you have the why. You understand why it is you're dealing with whatever's coming out of this person's mouth at that point in time. 10,000 hours of practice makes them a professional in that area. So if they're ratchet and they have spent 10,000 hours in a ratchet mind state, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to change. They have to change it. There's nothing that you can do to change it except for plant a seed, right? And plant a seed means something as simple as, excuse me, what I'm doing right now. I'm planting the seed. I'm not changing anybody. I'm not changing the world or no junk like that. I have my own world that I live in, and that's pretty much what I stay in. Now, do I step outside of my genre of life and look at other people's and listen and kind of take a deeper thought process about what it is that's going on in their life and what they're speaking from their perspective? Absolutely. That's how I've been able to advance in my life. The only thing that I will not do is take my accomplishments, the advancements that I make, the business moves, the money, the this, the that, the success. I'm not going to take any of that and flash it across social media. For this reason here, because I come from poverty, right? If you've listened to my my perspective wisdom podcast, those are some of my earlier podcasts where I talk about my life and how I grew up. I grew up, not having my own room. Grew up, 6 or 7 to a 2-bedroom apartment, and missing meals and missing school because of taking care of grandparents who were sick and dying and things of that nature. I come from a life of struggle, a hard life. But the advancements that I've been able to make, I don't talk about them. I mean, certain things, things that have to do with my family. My family may ask me to post a picture of like when I graduated from college. My family asked me to post a picture. I posted a picture. That's it. I'll leave it at that. I don't go around trying to assert myself over other folks because I am formally educated. And notice I put quotations on that because formal education is only in one area. Again, that is a perspective. I had to write papers and dissertations that appealed to the perspective of the professor that I was under at the time. And every time I wrote something outside of his perspective or her perspective, whoever was teaching me, whatever class that was, they had a problem with it. They would give me a low grade and things of that nature. And I paid attention to that. So once I started catering to their perspective, then I get A's and B's with no problem. So anyways, moving on. 10,000 hours of practice in that poverty-stricken mindset poverty-stricken mind state will have them saying things like the black community has no wealth because of brothers like this who take their wealth, and when they die, it's passed from male to female, and now that goes to that community. There are so many things wrong with that with that train of thought, but it's only wrong to the people who have been able to branch out their train of thought, and it's wrong to the people who have always been on the wealthy side. So poverty side, all of the people who are born and raised and grown up in poverty, and they've spent 10,000 hours of practice in that thing to become a professional at being poverty stricken, right? In the mindset, they think it's right, which is why you get so many people that will agree with this side of the premise. That's why. That's why you have this. So to go at them with an emotional response is an exercise in futility. It's pointless. It's pointless. And one of my favorite lines, and if you don't listen to Eminem, fine, but if you do listen to Eminem, you'll understand what I'm saying. One of my favorite lines is when he said, "It's pointless to diss somebody who can't even tell when their voice should hit the snare and the drum, or the snare and the bass line." So if you can't figure that thing out, why am I even going at you? Like there's levels to this, and because you're not at this level, because you don't want to be. It's not that you can't, because according to the old people, we're in the young people. I'm sorry. According to the young people, we're in the age of information, right? But information with no wisdom is a booby trap, pretty much, which is why there's perspective wisdom. Now, I got access to all the information that you got. I probably got access to some more information that you have. And some people probably have access to more information than me. But with all of that information, what do you do with it? What do you do with it? That's where wisdom and discernment come in, right? So if you have all of this information and you can't transform it into something that's applicable in your life and maybe others, then it's pointless. So it's pointless to have arguments with people who see this tragedy as a way to draw attention to themselves, as a way to try to get people on the bandwagon of negativity, because misery does love company. I mean, success loves company too, and that's not said enough. Again, words are spells. Success loves company, right? And we say it in a way that does not mirror misery loves company. We say spiritual people or religious people will say something begets something. So wealth begets wealth. And then regular people will say, who ain't into the spiritual and the religious, they'll say money sticks with money. Money makes money. Scared money don't make money. There's always this thing that you have to have one in order to get to the other. And then they'll say misery loves company. So if they're miserable, they want you to be miserable with them. That's the why. So now that you know the why, there's no reason for you to continue engaging with the people who are. There's another channel that I listen to, and I'm gonna shout out good channels. I'm not gonna shout out rhetoric. So Truth Teller 410 says, "I don't speak on everything." That's the channel. So Truth Teller 410. Truth Teller 410 said, "I don't speak on everything because I don't care." He said he uses other words, but I'm words are spells. So I don't use every word that everybody else uses. I understand what they're saying, and I just interpret it in my way. I don't interpret it differently than what they say. I just use different words to get to the same thing because I don't like using certain words in my vocabulary. But he says I don't care. I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is because you're not going to change. You can plant a seed and that person will change if they want to, or if they understand where you're coming from and they want to branch out and stuff like that. And two, I don't care. Like, and it's just so funny, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You should not care uh, to be the company that misery is looking for. So that's what you got to change. And now I'm at 15 minutes, so I'm not going to make this go on too much longer. I don't want to lose people's attention span, which I probably lost a good amount of people when I hit the 8-minute mark. But so understand this. Let's condense this down so it doesn't be 20 minutes. Words are spells, right? Words put together in sentences. You already know what that is, and I'll give you that one, and you get sentenced when you go into jail. And 10,000 hours of practice makes you a professional in anything it is that you do. So when you put those things together and you understand the why, and you look at who's coming at you, if they're opposing what it is that you have to say, you look at what they're saying, you look at where they come from. They don't have to tell you a word. It's coming out of their mouth where they come from and how much practice they've had in certain areas. You ever met somebody that says something in an area and you know that they know what they're talking about because there's no other way you can know the information unless you were there or you done it? Okay, that's for street smart, streetwise people. I can tell where you lived at, what hood you come from by the way that you talk. So I don't, after that, I know whether to respect you or move on or still be in your presence, or whether you're an opposing person, neighborhood that doesn't like my neighborhood. I already know. You don't have to say another word. I see what you're saying in this little bit and I see how you're carrying yourself. That's how it is with practice in an area. And if you're familiar with sports, and I'm a basketball player, a little bit of football, but I'm a basketball player. When I see somebody play, all it takes is about 4 possessions up and down the court, offense or defense, and I can tell if you're a trained person, if you're raw talent that hasn't been harnessed yet, and they're just kind of trying to see where you fit, or if you have been, if you don't have any talent, but you practice so hard that you have fundamentals on lock and all the things that are extra past that. So now that helps me to understand whether you're a role player, whether you're a superstar, whether you're just position specific or job specific, as in defense. That's all you need to do. And that's all I need you for. That type of thing. That's how you have to be with life. You have to understand that people are only doing what their position specific to do, or what their position is, or what their talent is, or what they practice for 10,000 hours. If they practice hurt, pain, bad relationships, degradation, talking down on people, poverty, not being good with money, no savings, no work ethic, then guess what you're going to get out of them 100% of the time. So with that being said, talk to y'all later. Have a good one.